Okay, so there's a whole industry based on continuous improvement. There's several different veins of it. There are all sorts of ideas, and it is something that propagates in our society all over. Right? Everybody talking about making little incremental changes, and as you continue to make those incremental changes, you'll continue to improve. There's lean manufacturing, which is all about tiny little changes and making things so that you're wasting less and less stuff and wasting less time and using better ideas. Great ideas, and it's all a wonderful thing. Unfortunately, what they promote it as is something that is unattainable, right? They'll promote it by saying, if you improve 1% every day for a year, you'll be 37 times better in whatever area you're improving. So I've talked about that in the past. It's bogus. It doesn't work. You cannot maintain 1% improvement compounding at all. It's not possible. You end up just getting to the point where you just cannot keep up. You can't come up with new ideas, whatever. It's not possible to continue improving 1% in one particular area for a year. Just try it, see what happens. Anyway, so that's one thing. And then they say, oh, well, you won't recognize yourself, in 5 years if you just keep improving yourself 1% or just a little bit every day. It's true, but unfortunately, if you don't improve and you just let yourself go or continue on doing what you're doing, change is going to happen. And in 5 years, you won't recognize yourself either way. You think back 5 years. What were you doing 5 years ago? Who were your friends? Are they the same friends? Are you doing the same thing? Do you watch the same shows? You're different. So you're changing either way. And yes, if you try and improve yourself, that's great. But not recognizing yourself is not a promotion. And of course, then they say, well, once you start improving yourself, you just never look back. You just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. Well, that's not true either, right? We all know that that's not true because we all started things that were good ideas and they fell by the wayside. We, said we were going to start an exercise program, which we quit. We said we were going to put money in the bank every month or every week or every day or whatever it was. We stopped doing that. Stop thinking that just because you started something that you're going to continue to do it and you get excited about it. It's not the way it works. It's not possible to continue on thinking that I'm just going to, start something and then I'm going to keep on going. I mean, I hope you do, but chances are it's not going to happen. So how do we get into continuous improvement? I call it an art. It's an art of continuous improvement. And essentially what you need is you need three things, right? I'm an advocate of self-improvement. I'm an advocate of slow, continuous changes, and I'm also an advocate of improving yourself 1%. Little 1% changes are great. Anything that takes a minute or less, fantastic. 2 minutes, whatever. If it takes a short period of time, then that's a good change. But how do you continue it? How do you continue on doing it? If I talked about those three things, they don't work, they're obviously bogus, well then why am I still talking, right? I'm still talking because there is a way of continuing to make improvements. And the goal here is to be able to understand what it is you need to have in place in your life so that you can have continuous changes every day, every week, every month. And those changes to be positive and in the direction you want to go. All right, so there's three things you need. First thing you need is you need to have a vision. Without a vision, you're going to be floundering, wandering all over the place. You have to know what it is that who you want to become. You want to know what you need to do every day, who you want to act like what habits you need to have so that you can become the person you want to become. If you want to become a saver, then you have to have the habit of putting money in the bank. spending less than you earn. If you want to become an athlete, then you got to have a habit of exercising every single day. And these things that you have, you say, I want to be an athlete, well, that means you have to have a vision of what that means. What is it that an athlete does, and what does it mean to you to be an athletic person? Right? So that's the first thing. You have to have a vision. Without a vision, you're lost. Okay, second thing is you need to have a system for goal setting. Now, I've seen a lot of videos online lately because I'm sort of into this stuff. Talk about set systems, don't set goals. Don't worry about goal setting. It's blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm sorry, but if you don't have a goal, you won't set a system. So if you want to set a system, that must mean that you have a goal. So therefore, if you have a goal, you have to have that goal set. And then you develop your system. So stop it, right? Have the goal. Set the goal. Figure out what it is that you want to do in a certain period of time. That's what a goal is. A vision is something you probably never ever attain. Right? I want to become a star athlete, or I want to be fit until I die. It's great things to have, but you're never going to get there until you die, right? So, but a goal is something that you set in 12 weeks or a year or 2 years or whatever it is. I want this to happen. That's a goal. And then when you back it up, you say, okay, here I am now. This is what I need to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis to reach my goal. So you have to have a system of goal setting. I don't care what it is. It'll work if you work the goal setting system. And we'll talk about how I set my goals and how that works in future video. But anyway, that's goal setting. Okay, and thirdly, you have to have an accurate method of evaluation. This means that you have to be able to measure success or failure. And if you're actually striving for something in your goal setting, then you better have some failures. Because if you don't have failures, that means you're not striving hard enough. You have to have successes and failures, and you have to have an evaluation method to be able to look at them and determine which is a success and which is a failure, or which is nothing, where you haven't changed at all. That would, in my consideration, would be a failure. But, if you haven't moved forward, then, you could call that a moot or null answer. But you have to be able to measure it. And so having a system to be able to determine, what it is that if you're actually reaching your goals or if you're not. And once you have an evaluation method, then that's going to really increase your motivation, right? Because if you know you failed, then you need to change. If you know you're succeeding, then you can do more of that. And so it's going to provide you some motivation to actually keep on going and doing those things that you set in your goal setting program. Now, of course, if you are failing at it all the time and you're not reaching what you want to go, then obviously the actions that you set in your goal plan don't work. So therefore, you need to change what the actions that you need to do, that you're planning on doing, that you're doing on a regular basis, to ones that are going to be more beneficial for reaching your goal.